ተመልካቾቻችን እንደምን ሰንብታችኋል? እንግዲህ ዛሬ የሄለን ሾው 27ኛውን ሲዝን የምንከፍትበት ፕሮግራም ነው። በጁላይ 27 እዚህ ዋሽንግተን ዲሲ ውስጥ ዋሽንግተን ዲሲ ኮንቬንሽን ሴንተር ውስጥ ደመቅ ሞቅ ብለን ያከበርነው ዝግጅት ኤምፓወር ዘ ኮሚኒቲ ዊኬንድ ይባላል። እንግዲህ ይሄ አመታዊ ዝግጅት በዚህ አመት 8ኛ አመቱን ያከበረ ነው። እዚህ ዝግጅት ላይ ትውልደ ኢትዮጵያውያን የሆኑ ትውልደ ኤርትራውያን የሆኑ አሜሪካኖች እንደዚሁም ደግሞ ያገሩ ሰዎች አሜሪካኖች የሚገኙበት ዝግጅት ነበር። እንግዲህ ለሚቀጥሉ 3 ሳምንታት ከዚህ ዝግጅት ላይ ቀንጠብ እያደረግን ጠቃሚ ብለን የምናምንባቸውን ሐሳቦች ወደ እናንተ ይዘን እንቀርባለን። የመጀመሪያው ፓነል ዲስከሽን እንግዲህ ሰልፍ ኬር ይባላል እና ራሳችንን እንዴት አድርገን መንከባከብ እንዳለብን እንደው በጣም ትልቅ ስራ እዚህ ሀገር ከሚሰሩ ሰዎች ጋር የተደረገውን ቆይታ ይዘንላችሁ እንቀርባለን ማለት ነው። እንግዶቻችንን የሚያስተዋውቁልን የካይዘር ፐርማነንቴ አር ፕላቲነም ስፖንሰር ሪፕሬዘንታቲቭ የሆነች ዶክተር ቅድስት አሰግድ ናት። እስቲ ወደዛ ፕሮግራም ልውሰዳችሁና እንድትከታተሉን ከወዲሁ ልጋብዛችሁ።
Thank you so much, Helen, for the wonderful introduction. Founded in 1945, Kaiser Permanente's mission is to provide high-quality, affordable healthcare services and to improve the health of its members and communities. We serve 12.7 million members in 8 states and DC. Here in the Mid-Atlantic region, we have more than 17,000 Ethiopian and Eritrean members here at Kaiser Permanente. And we also employ many doctors, nurses, and administrative professionals. So, our care for members and patients is focused on their total health, which is why we are so proud to support this wellness panel and the Empower the Community event today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panelists. And the first panelist is Dr. Tsion Birhane. Dr. Tsion Birhane is come onto the stage. Let's give it up for Dr. Tsion Birhane. Dr. Tsion Birhane is a double board certified in general surgery and surgical care, cosmetic surgery. Welcome, Dr. Tsion. Haben, Girma, come on up to the stage. Let's give it up for Haben, Girma. Haben is founder of Shakorina by Habe, a holistic skincare and wellness brand. And our moderator, Timret Letke. She's the certified life coach, Unchanging Me. Come on up to the stage.
Thank you.
Let's give it up to our panelists. And I hope you enjoy the conversation and I hope you live well and thrive. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Here, welcome to our panelists and everybody watching us live, or maybe you could be watching this on YouTube. We're going to be tackling a very important subject of self-care. And I'd like to also welcome my husband and my 2 little girls right here. Thank you for being here. So before we begin, I'd like to give our panelists a chance to introduce themselves. Just tell us how they got into what they're doing now, their field of choice. I'll start with you, Doctor.
So I did my medical degree in Ethiopia and came here and did my surgery residency and then did my fellowship in critical care. But always in my mind was plastic surgery. When I graduated or when I finished general surgery, I wanted to pursue plastic surgery, but then my mentor said, don't date me, but 20 years ago, he said, there are nobody that needs plastic surgery, and you're not going to get anybody to come to you. So he advised me to do something else, which was totally different area, but still exciting. I did a trauma critical care. But after about 10 years, my passion was still resurfacing. So I decided getting a lot of trainings and I decided to do cosmetic surgery practice. So right now I do both. I do cosmetic surgery practice as well as critical care. I found it to be very exciting. It's the passion of my life and I love to restore people's beauty, not in a vain way, but in a way that makes them feel comfortable.
Thank you so much. And Haben,
My name is Haben Girma. I am the founder and CEO of Shakurna by Hobby. I am a naturopathic practitioner and a cosmetic chemist. I started this years ago because I had a love for herbs and also the love for beauty, and I decided in junior year of college to start playing scientist, even though I wasn't graduated yet. I decided to do that in my first product I created, and from there I decided to move forward with creating my own line and getting more education in my field in cosmetic chemistry.
if you guys have noticed, our panel is a little smaller than advertised. Wintana Kiros could not be with us today because she tested positive for COVID. I did get her permission to share that information because she said people need to be vigilant about the new variant that is around. So just wanted to make sure you guys knew that. So our thoughts and prayers are with her as she gets better. Going into our questions, I think everybody intuitively knows that self-care is important. And I think with social media and influencer culture being what it is right now, it's all in our faces every single day. I don't think we can dodge the topic of self-care. And the numbers also speak to the same effect. The global wellness industry was valued at $5.6 trillion in 2022, and it's projected to go up since then. And that means that we are bombarded with this new best diet, new best look, the best skincare routine 2-3 times a day, best sunscreen. So that might, how do we get to this affordable, sustainable part of our self-care, or a routine or a pace of self-care, so it doesn't become doing too much and we feel like we're lagging behind? I'll start with you, Haben.
So for me, I feel like self-care, it can be really expensive, and for some people they cannot afford it. But there's many things that you can do outside of spending money for self-care. So self-care is not always going to be going and getting a facial done or going and getting a massage done, because some people unfortunately can't afford it every month or even every 6 months, right? So there's some simple things that you can do that are self-care, like doing breathing exercises, which is free. And you can do that any time of the day that you want. And since we live in a nation that is flight or flight, we're overly stimulated with caffeine and other substances, taking a time to breathe in and out, even for 5 minutes, and just getting yourself into parasympathetic mode can be one of the beneficial things for you without having to spend money. And of course, all the other things are very great as well. Simple things like skipping coffee on an empty stomach and actually consuming a balanced meal that has protein, fats, and fiber. That's a form of self-care as well, because self-care is not only external but also internal. So that's my take on it.
There are going to be a lot of coffee lovers that are not going to be happy with what you just said. You too, doctor. And let me personalize that question to you a little bit, since we're talking about balance and harmony, really. How do people achieve that, but taking care of the being and taking time to do as little as possible sometimes, and starting from the very small steps that we can take towards our self-care? In the context of our culture and our backgrounds as immigrants and daughters of immigrants, there seems to be this guilt associated with self-care, especially around women. How do we deal with that guilt, and where does it stem from, in your opinion?
We have such a beautiful culture, which is super rich. It's community-based. We're always pouring into each other, but sometimes we lack pouring into ourselves. And we can't be the best versions of ourselves if we're not pouring in within ourselves. So we do feel a little bit of guilt when we do for ourselves, because we saw all our moms, our aunts, and grandmothers pouring into everyone else, even when their cup was empty. But this is a different generation now, and we have different things in this world. So we do have to take time for ourselves and not feel guilty. It can be, like I said, simple things that you can be doing, but taking that time for yourself and pouring back into yourself is going to help you be the best mother, the best doctor, the best everything, right? You can be the best version of yourself and pour into others when you're full. So I feel that even though we feel guilty sometimes, I think taking even 20 minutes, even an hour to refill ourselves is really important, and not to feel guilty about doing that.
So you're saying the guilt is going to be there.
It might still be there a little
Yeah.
bit, but sometimes you have to fill yourself up.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything for anyone else if you're not the best. So that's what
Absolutely.
that's what I feel, and that's what I
So
look at it as.
feel the guilt, but do it anyway. Take some time for
Yes,
yourself.
you have to. Sometimes you have to.
Absolutely. Dr. Tsion, if you can add on that, please.
I think she said it, but I would say lack of knowledge. The Bible says, my people perish from lack of knowledge. And when we don't understand what self-care is, then we think giving is the only good way to do it. But not giving sometimes, saying no is not being selfish, but it's self-care. So understanding what it means. One person put it in real perspective for me. When I had kids, I was waking up at every minute, and I wouldn't even let them sleep in their own bedroom. And if they come to my bedroom, they were always welcome. And this person said, you understand what you're doing is wrong, because this kid would be motherless if you're staying up all night and driving, and you get an accident and you die, or you're crippled forever. So what we think self-care sometimes is detrimental to us and to our family or to the people that we love most and that we want to care for. So that kind of understanding would help us to put things in perspective, where we have to do the right thing, but we also have to be able to say, no, I can't do this. I have to take care of some time for myself, so I'll be stronger and better. And people that are raised by strong moms would be strong kids. So it trickles down to everybody. So I think it's mainly understanding and asking ourselves, what am I doing? Is this helping or not?
You hit the point that I was about to raise perfectly about boundaries. But to add on what you're saying, talking about the guilt, I think there's also this sense of, we've hit the lottery being here and growing up here or immigrating here. So every dollar needs to be spent on someone that needs it more, not me. I can't spend this on myself because it could help a lot of people back home. So confusing self-care with selfishness, not just within ourselves, but people mirroring that to us, saying, you should do this and do that, but not take the time and the resources that you need to take care of yourself, I think is very important. Let's go back to boundaries. How do we maintain, I think everybody knows that maintaining healthy boundaries in our personal relationships and our professional relationships is utmost important, but what is the how-to of how to maintain that healthy boundary? Because it is a form of self-care, we would all agree.
So this is kind of challenging for everyone, I feel. Getting that boundary to separate work and personal life. It's for all of us. I cannot say I'm good at it because there's times when I fail at it as well. But sometimes you just have to redirect and look at everything from outside a little bit. Meaning like use a time for hanging out with your family, spending time with your loved ones, and then having a time where you just work. So dedicating a work schedule, that's the time that I'm gonna work, and maybe dedicating a place to work, meaning if you're working from home, for example, dedicating a space where you work there only, and that's it. And then once you leave there, work is shut off. Your phone is maybe gonna be shut off, or notifications are gonna be turned into silent. And then asking for support too sometimes can also benefit your boundaries, because if you're someone who's always saying, I'm gonna do everything myself, that's not gonna always be realistic sometimes. You can't do everything yourself. So maybe asking for support and asking someone to help you that way that you can maybe finish your work faster and go home to your kids and your husband and etc. So boundaries, setting it can be a little difficult sometimes because you have to say no, and saying no sometimes can be hard, but it is important to say no sometimes and look at things and organize a task where you have your work schedule and you have your personal time for your family and loved ones.
That's a very interesting concept of boundaries with professional and personal life. Doctor, if you don't mind touching on the other aspect of it, which is also setting boundaries within the relationships that we have with other people around us.
I think she touched it on. Basically, boundaries are boundaries. What you put a boundary for your work and for your family life is the same boundary that you have to put on for your kids and your parents and your friends, because boundary is basically saying what is healthy at this point for me, and looking at a compass and which way is it going? Should it be, sometimes our body tells us say no, so say yes. So it's identifying the compass. Where is it? Should I be just spending my time all the way, every day? And it says no. It's hard to follow. It's not that we don't know, but it's hard to follow. But I don't think there's any different principle that you would apply for kids and for parents, and then different principle for work and home life. I think it's basically understanding where is the compass saying. Is it saying no? Is it saying this? When it's saying no, we have a lot of guilt to say no, but I am also guilty of that. I have a problem saying no, and I also have problem with boundaries. So when I'm speaking here, it's not that I've mastered it. I think it's a process. I always understand it. I try to do more, but it's just a process that we learn as we go on, but knowing that it's necessary. And one person said, if you do it once, it gets better. Like if you learn to say no once, it gets better. If you never say no, it will always be difficult. So let all of us learn to say no sometimes. And it's always good to be, helpful in everything, but it gets to the point where it's unhelpful for everybody if you're not saying no. So that's the thing to learn.
Yeah, so it's like building a muscle that we didn't have, and then over time it gets stronger. And I like to frame it in this way, especially with my clients. When you say no to some people, or when you say no to something that doesn't serve you or that doesn't go with your self-care needs, what are you saying yes to? Because in every no, there's a yes to something else. So that helps them frame it in a more positive way than saying, I'm just being a bad person saying no to this, but I'm saying yes to, the kids having a stronger mother, a healthier mother, by saying no to something else that I would have said yes to otherwise. Let's talk about overwhelm and reset. This question was mainly for Wintana, but I think we all have something to add to it. When things become too much, when the social media, the family, the pressure, even mental health, when it becomes too much, have you guys taken a sabbatical in the past, a reset? If so, what are the benefits you got out of it? And what do you recommend to people who may be sensing that they need it, but they're just ignoring it and pushing it aside? Haben?
I think a reset is very important. We all eventually will either deal with having to do a reset. Sometimes we do it because we feel like we need to, and sometimes we see the check engine light and still keep going until we break down.
Yeah.
I've had that issue where I seen the check light, but I was like, it's okay. I'm just gonna keep moving, I should be fine. And then I became so overwhelmed that I couldn't work and perform the way I needed to do. So yes, I have taken time off before. I took about 4 months off from work just to reset myself, to be better for my patients and for my clients, and also just to be a better version of myself and for my health. So working too much, I would have 16-hour days sometimes, and I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm not really eating very well, and then that affects my health. So I said, okay, I need to sit down, take some time off, and reset. And what it helped was it helped my health. It helped me perform better in my businesses, and it helped me be a better provider for my patients.
So take a step back to go forward in a stronger way. Dr. Tsion, please.
I have to be honest. I don't know any reset. I don't take vacation. I take a lot of vacations, but after 2 weeks, I'm ready to go back to work. I'm that kind of person. Work energizes me. So I'd be lying if I stand here and said, reset is good and let's go ahead and do it. I think it is, but it's not my experience. My life experience is work, 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 take a vacation, and I love vacations. And the next vacation energizes me to work more. I'm not saying I'm in the right, but I just don't want to lie to people and give what is not my experience. But I would love to try it one day.
Yeah, thank you for your honesty. I mean, I think a reset looks and feels different for everybody. Some people can afford the time, a longer time reset, but a couple of weeks can, do the trick for some people too, if there's, on the go a lot. My personal experience is also resisting the reset, the going back, from creating content and coaching and being a mom to 5 kids all over, their ages are all over the place. So what we did, me and my husband, were take a sabbatical and moved back to Ethiopia for a year, continued working at some capacity, but the main need that we had, that we wanted to fulfill with this decision, was the need for community, which we unfortunately don't have here. The extended family members, the grandparents, and the effect that Ethiopia has that just makes you slow down and put things into perspective from all the things that stress us out over here. So I'm so glad to say that it was good for us, it was good for the kids, and you come back energized and you have a different focus in mind. So since we're still in that area of community, there's this issue with self-care that centers it on the individual. It just feels like self-reliance, me, I got me, I'm gonna do me. And that's been fueled with the social media culture of self-care. And there was a Surgeon General warning in 2023 about the epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And I don't know if how many people feel that and agree with that, but I know I feel that to my bones. It's like being surrounded by people online, but you don't really have meaningful relationships outside of your immediate family that can nurture you in that way. So how do we incorporate the healing effects of social connection and our need for community together with our self-care needs? Haben, please.
So one way that we can do that, I like to do walks a lot, especially walking in nature, especially. I have where I live is filled with. I live in the woods basically, filled with lots of trees and trails. I think one way I do this with my family, and I tell my patients to do this, is take walks with maybe a couple of friends, with your family members, and that walking, not only is it a way to release some stress, because we do have endorphins being released when we walk, and then we have the feel-good hormone or chemical serotonin being released as well. But you get to talk to your family, you get to talk to your friends, you get to vent, because we all have issues that we deal with, right? Personal things. And when you have that sense of community with your family or friends, and you're just walking, you're in nature, you're getting vitamin D, nice breeze going through your lungs, and you get to talk to your friends or your family about what you're going through, and then they make you laugh. They make you smile. So that right there can be a source of self-care, because when you're helping your body and at the same time you are venting out something that's probably giving you an issue, and you're getting some good advice, and you're laughing and enjoying yourself. So I would say that's a good way to utilize bringing community together without having to pay any money, and also incorporate self-care.
That's a great point. Dr. Tsion, what do you say?
I would say relationships are so important. It's just scientific fact at this point, actually. It's not like we must do it, we know about it. It's a scientific fact. And I was reading or listening to this Harvard professor that they did a study. They started it in 1938, and it has been going on for 86 years. And what they studied was 2 groups. One is the Harvard students that are privileged, that have everything, all they want, education, and the other group is the inner city kids. And they studied them, and this study is still going on, and now it's 86 years. And at the end of the 86 years, what they found out is the number one thing that people need is relationship. So it's huge, because this is, Kennedy, the presidents, all the highly educated, highly famous, most money-making people were included, and the poorest of the poor were included. And out of all, there was nothing. The common factor is those people that had relationship lived longer, they were less sick, they didn't have a lot of the chronic diseases that we know of. So relationship for us, for Habesha people, comes naturally to us. We are very relational. But what we are trying to do is we're trying to kill that, trying to be like the others. So what we need is, now that we have the scientific evidence and even the biblical evidence, Bible says to live in a community. But now Bible is proven with science. So what more evidence do we need to keep our culture going? So I say to everybody, within the reach of this presentation, to just search know the fact that this is true. If you don't have a relationship, it's not going to work. One thing I want to say, though, is social media is another problem. Social media has made us lonely, and the loneliness is getting worse. And the Instagram is one way we always compare ourselves to somebody's fake life. You know, they could be crying and just wipe and move makeup and they look great and they show us a picture. Another person who's driving, who's struggling with life, looks at that and says, look at her, and they compare it. So they say comparison is a joy killer, is a thief of joy. So let's not compare, let's not believe all those social medias that we see, and also be away from the phone and try to talk. Social media, the phone is like a slot machine. You know, people go to Vegas and they have these highs because they get dopamine release and it makes them high. But if you continuously have dopamine release, the body, again scientifically, is going to reset. And the reset is going to be lower than what you are. You were happy, and then the reset is going to be you have a low. Have you experienced depression after vacation? Or even after a great experience, a great win, people go under depression. That is normal physiology of the body balancing. Otherwise, you will die. If you're just high, you will die. So it will set us the balance. So phone is our slot machine. We can't have 24 slot machine because then we'll be depressed. There's a high degree of anxiety, suicide, and everything in our generation, the young kids especially. It's because they're continuously excited and they don't know how to calm down, be by themselves, reset, and then move again. So there's a lot to be learned from social media. I'm not downing social media altogether, but it needs to be used wisely.
That was a gold mine. Thank you. I think forming and maintaining meaningful relationships is the utmost importance for our self-care. And that, you know, one of my favorite authors is Brené Brown, and she did a lot of research around vulnerability and connecting with others through that. There's no connecting with others without being vulnerable. So there is that step that you have to take that may feel uncomfortable, but reach out, you know, old friends, new friends, reach out, make those connections, and that is a major aspect of self-care.
እንግዲህ ተመልካቾቻችን በዚህ ሰልፍ ኬር ፓነል ላይ ጠቃሚ ሐሳቦችን እንደወሰዳችሁ እንተማመናለን። እንግዲህ ይሄ ዝግጅት ወደ አዲስ አበባ ኖቬምበር 15 እና 16 በሚሌኒየም ሆል ሰፋ ብሎ ለሁለት ቀን የሚመጣ ዝግጅት ነው። መቼስ እኔ በጣም ደስ ብሎኛል ይሄንን ዝግጅት ለማድረግ ነገሮች እየተሳኩልን ያለው። ስለዚህ ምርትና አገልግሎታችሁን ማስተዋወቅ ለምትፈልጉ ስፖንሰር ማድረግ ለምትፈልጉ info@empowercw.com ብላችሁ ብትልኩልን ኢንፎርሜሽን ልንልክላችሁ እንችላለን። እንግዲህ በሚቀጥለው ሳምንት ደግሞ ሌላውን የቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ የሚለውን ፓነል ዲስከሽን ይዘንላችሁ እንቀርባለን። የሚቀጥለው ሳምንት እንገናኝ።